And I'm hoping that we can get into the weather in a much deeper and profound way this afternoon. Yesterday was just the introduction. And I know the people are looking forward to hear something to show that we're going to be as real can be on this weather update in the afternoon. So take us away this afternoon on your presentation, what we're expecting in the weather, what's out there, what can we look for, what we need to know.
Oh, definitely. Good afternoon to you, my brother. Good afternoon to the listening public of our brothers and sisters in Antigua and Barbuda and wider field. It's really a pleasure to sit with you this afternoon. Let's go in a little bit more deeper to talk a little bit more about the atmospheric sciences. The good Lord of heaven created this world in 7 days and he blessed it. Indeed. Well, we continue to have pretty warm days today. I'm sitting outside today, so if you're hearing a little bit of breeze, it's because I've chosen to change my locale just a bit to take in a little bit more of the cooler type breeze this afternoon. Our temperatures soared into the lower 90s. We didn't have much in the way of rainfall for Antigua and Barbuda, so it continues to be rather dry. But our focus right now continues to be on the tropical Atlantic and what we can expect. And this is day 2 of the tropical Atlantic hurricane season. And when I left you yesterday, Edson, it was a tropical disturbance. Last night, it became a tropical depression. And this afternoon, it became Tropical Storm Cristobal. Well, Cristobal formed in the southern or southeastern Gulf of Mexico, and it brewed off of what we call a tropical cyclone that came across the Central American landmass, and it now emerged into the southern Gulf of Mexico. And with it being in the southern Gulf of Mexico, it has a large expanse of clouds and shower activity, and the forecast is for it to strengthen a little bit. The areas on the watches right now are actually the Mexican border, the southeastern Mexican border, and along with that, the main focus will be more so for rainfall. Edson?
So what's contributing to the hot temperatures that we're having out there?
Well, you know, this is when we're getting down into the summer months, and we sometimes had, it's what we call a combinational effect. Climatologically, this time of the year, we would actually register warmer temperatures because the sun is over our particular latitude. And along with that is that if we have what we call a southeastern or a southerly wind flow, it will bring some of the warmth from the Southern Caribbean up into our general location. And along with that is if we have what we call compressional warming. Now, what does compressional warming mean? Compressional warming means that the atmosphere compresses itself under weight. And if we as students of the sciences, we know that compression actually warms. So when we have sinking air in the atmosphere, there is a slight warming that takes place in the lower atmosphere that registers as a spike in temperature. So it's a combinational effect climatologically, and if we have a surge of warmer air from the south, along with that, if we have sinking motion, all of that contributes to the warmer temperatures that we have been having.
Yesterday, you updated us about a tropical cyclone that's close to Mexico, I think it was.
Yeah.
What's happening out there?
A very good question, because overnight, as I was introducing it, last night, it was a tropical disturbance. The National Hurricane Center was tracking its movement. Actually, it started in the eastern tropical Atlantic. It moved alongside the Central American landmass, over the landmass, and came across the landmass into the Gulf of Mexico. Now, when they change location like this, they assume different names. So it emerged into the southeastern Gulf of Mexico last night, and it became a tropical depression. and today it became a tropical storm. And the name of that tropical storm is now Cristobal. So there is a third tropical storm now having the second day of the Atlantic hurricane season. We're off and running. We're now having storm number 3.
This is really up and running. We
Up
have
and
more
running
storms than
indeed.
the number of days in the hurricane season.
So far.
So
Definitely.
anything, what's happening with it actually? Has it touched any land
Yeah.
anywhere since it has?
Well, if we can show a graphic on it, the center has moved off the Belize into the Gulf of Mexico. And so with it being in the Gulf of Mexico, the warm sea surface temperatures that are right, that's the shot. You're doing a very, very great job there, Edson. And that's what we call Cristobal. Now, Cristobal has a very large expanse of clouds. And up to the northeast, you see Florida and the whole United States coastal area right down into Mexico. So this particular storm is purged right over warm sea surface temperatures. And with those warm sea surface temperatures with high oceanic heat content, when I use that term, I simply mean that the energy is just great for it. And if it moves very slowly or stays there, it will breathe a little bit more, and the forecast track and the forecast intensity models suggest that it will strengthen, albeit that the conditions ahead of it in the next couple of days will not be as conducive to formation or to intensification. But as it is right now, it's in a low shear environment, meaning that the winds are not tossing it about. There is copious amount of moisture. There is high oceanic heat content. There is enough food for it to feed off, and those individuals along the coastline of Mexico and even the southeastern coastlines of the United States would certainly want to watch this system, because there's a very strong likelihood of it grouping itself together and moving very, very slowly towards the north in the next couple of days. If you could show the track model and where it is likely to go, that's right. So the center is in that white cone in the blue area down there where there is an orange dot. And over the next couple of days, you see come 1 p.m. Saturday, it's likely to be in the central Gulf of Mexico. And 1 p.m. Sunday, it's likely to be very close to the border of Texas in that region. Now, I must add here that note that the cone widens as it goes to the north. This means that there is a larger error where it can be, meaning that the storm can show up itself close to the Texan border, or it can be closer to the Alabama border. So there's a wide expanse, and this is typical of hurricanes and storms. As we go further out in time, the models suggest that there is greater uncertainty, and with that, like with the greater error, there is some uncertainty. So the folks along the coastline from Texas right over to Alabama would want to watch itself for the next couple of days. But immediately for us right now, for the Mexican area is where the storm is, just to the south, is likely to move on land in the next 12 to 24 hours before swinging back up to north and be in the vicinity of the United States coastal borders of the Gulf states.
This is moving pretty quickly. Just yesterday we heard about it. Now today, it looks like in the next 3 to 4 days it could be impacting land somewhere. And
definitely, and there is some shade with respect to this system because of the fact that the system is now moving very slowly, and that there is a larger spread amongst the guidance suite of models, meaning the European has its model, United States has its model, Canada has its model, England has its model, and all other regional models they are using, there is a very large spread, meaning that there's great uncertainty. So in the next couple of days, don't be surprised to hear that it has not moved much. Or in the next couple of days, you could be hearing that there's a stronger storm in the vicinity of the Gulf states. So definitely it's moving in, it's not necessarily out of the norm. Storms like these can rapidly intensify or gradually intensify depending on the atmospheric condition. But for right now, yeah, it's definitely something to watch in the Gulf regions in the Atlantic hurricane season. Yes, you're muted right now, Edson. I'm not.
So that's what's up in the Gulf of Mexico, but what's happening in our neck of the woods?
Well, our neck of the woods, nothing much to talk about. Our satellite imagery suggests that it's really not too much in the way of clouds. We need significant clouds to give us drenching rainfall. This is the satellite imagery for the Caribbean area. Just to the north, you see this curved line or curved band of clouds. That's a weak trough. That weak trough is not going to impact us. As a matter of fact, it's likely to stay out in that region and move off towards the northeast. So in terms of it impacting us, we're not expecting that at all. However, we're noticing some patches of low-level clouds that are on the trade wind flow. And those patches of clouds are likely to be pushed over us. It's a hit and miss. And so with the level of moisture that's around, I'm not even expecting any much in the way of showers other than some light sprinkles. So what's in the neck of the wood for us today? We're looking at generally just partly cloudy skies, but if you're asking the question about tropical weather updates for us in the Caribbean, for us in Antigua and Barbuda, we are sitting quite nicely. The atmosphere continues to be conducive to good tourism, industrial climates. You can go out and have a great day at the beach, etc. There are no tropical systems for us to talk about. So the weather continues to be nice and tranquil, at least for this time of the month.
So we're expecting the same high temperatures going into deeper into the week?
Yeah, we're going to be having the warm temperatures. There is an indication that our wind speed is likely to increase. And with the wind speed, we might feel a little bit more cooler conditions because the wind can cause the perspiration to evaporate, and the evaporation is a cooling process. So if that happens, and I'm forecasting that to happen, then we should feel a little bit more cooler. Even though the temperatures might be soaring into the lower 90s, those winds should be able to cool us off.
But from a layman's perspective, it is understood that when it is this warm, it's as it were fuel for the hurricane fire, if there was a term such as.
I like that question because many people would look at temperature and heat. Yes, heat is a recipe for storm formation, but I would want to caution about using that type of heat. You see, the reason why we would want to caution that is because tropical systems feed off what we call latent heat. It's not necessarily the sensible heat. Now, allow me to break that down for you. Sensible heat is the heat that we can feel. So tropical systems do not necessarily feed off of that. Latent heat occurs when there is a change in the state of moisture. Now, you know that when you're cooking, you see the steam going up. That steam going up is water vapor. In the atmosphere, there is water vapor. But when we change the water vapor to form clouds, there is a certain degree of heat that is released. And as that is released, it warms the environment. So it's not necessarily sensible that we can feel, but it's enough heat to drive the systems. No, that is the type of heat internally that helps these systems to feed. Along with that, where the heat might become a little bit more factor is the fact that if our temperatures on the ocean surface becomes a little higher, then that is also the food for the storms itself. Warmer sea surface temperatures, high oceanic heat content, where the water is a little bit more warmer, and as we extract a little bit more heat from the water, certainly that's the heat also that can also fuel the systems.
Well, I think that's good education for us, the laypersons out, because we generally do not refer to the difference in the temperatures in the ocean as compared to the temperature in our physical
Atmosphere.
space. And so
Yeah.
the clarification was good for us.
Yes.
As we look into tomorrow, you
Mhm.
have already indicated we're not expecting any rain. And
Yeah,
so
we're not. If you're hoping
still no
for
good news
rain,
for
we're
our
praying
farmers,
people.
but we're still hopeful because from the climatologist's perspective, you
Mhm.
indicated that we should be expecting rain this month.
Yeah, the climatological outlook, and they do this climatological outlook from the Caribbean Meteorological Institute, or CIMH, Caribbean Meteorological and Hydrological Institute, and they do that outlook on a regular basis, quarterly. And the outlook, according to what they were saying, is that the atmosphere should lend itself to a little bit more cloudiness and precipitation outcome. So I'm hoping that come late June, going on into July and also August. And by the way, we are heading towards the rainier time of the year, when we should see tropical systems and tropical waves, etc. And if those can play a part, they will certainly add to the rainfall. The difficulty is that sometimes our rainfall will come with wind, and those are not some of the things we necessarily would want to hear. But definitely, it's one of those things that we'd have to be very mindful of, that as we head into the deeper summer months, the convective activity will increase, and the likelihood of us getting the type of rainfall and heavier rainfall will increase, albeit that it might come with the wind too.
Again, today, I think there's one other slide that we have to take just before you go in today's weather.
Yeah.
And
Oh yes, that's the wider tropical Atlantic. When we speak about the North Atlantic hurricane season, we're looking at the all-encompassing area that spans from Africa right over to us in the Caribbean, right over to the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean Sea, the northern and at the northern tropical, the northern Atlantic Ocean, heading right up the eastern seaboard. All that ocean is the area that we monitor for tropical systems. For us in Antigua and Barbuda, we are primarily concerned more with the area from Africa to the Caribbean. Why is that so? Because tropical waves emerge off of the coast of Africa. And once they emerge off the coast of Africa, the normal trade wind flow propagates these waves towards the west, meaning those waves normally move from east to west, from Africa to the Caribbean. So as they move towards us in the tropical Atlantic, they will tend to feed off of warmer ocean temperatures between Africa and the Caribbean. And as they feed on this particular warm waters, and there is no shear, and the deeper atmosphere continues to be conducive to cloud formation, these tropical waves can grow and grow and grow into tropical depressions, tropical storms, and hurricanes. So the eastern tropical Atlantic, from Africa to us in the eastern, for us in the eastern Caribbean, there are one or two tropical waves. That's all there is. But in terms of tropical cyclone activity, the tropical Atlantic Ocean east of us continues to be rather quiet. There are no tropical systems for us to be alarmed about at this stage. The eastern tropical Atlantic continues to be rather quiet. For this time of the year, it's climatological acceptable that this is so. But as we go down into the summer, deeper summer months, you will see more deeper, stronger tropical waves emerging off the coast of Africa. And yes, they will develop into tropical systems, but hence the reason why we ought to be prepared as we go on into the summer months. But for right now, the eastern tropical Atlantic is rather quiet.
Absolutely. It's a good sign, and we're hoping that it can stay that way for the rest of the season. We know that it will be active, but we hope that it will be safe.
That's right.
One of the things we will probably look into tomorrow is some preparatory measures that we need to take along with the weather forecast as well. So
Definitely.
it was good having you today again. May God continue to bless you, and thank you for bringing our weather to us this afternoon.
Sure, no problem. And anytime we stay in contact, and we'll talk a little bit more of the preparations that we ought to take during the hurricane season.
Okay, God bless.
Okay, God bless to you too. Okay, bye-bye.